Dear viewers, you're most welcome to the Cybersecurity Corner. My name is Veronica Rose, and I have a special guest for you today. She's from South Africa, and recently she made it to the final list of the African Women in Cybersecurity top list finalist. So I hope you'd love to hear more about her profile. Anna, please share with us.
Hi, Veronica. Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor to be on your show. Yeah, a little bit maybe about myself. I've got about 18 years experience in the security industry. I started as like a product manager or security consultant at a company called Dimension Data, and through that work, I think in my 20s, I was very lucky to be exposed to many different projects and companies, and we did lots of architecture reviews and security audits, and I was sent, to do work for them in Europe, in the States, all over South Africa, obviously, and I got a lot of exposure and experience on the sort of the more technical networking architecture side, but then very early on also realized that, the companies, even though they invested a lot of money in the technology, they didn't do enough on the people side. And that was, let's say, about 10 years ago, like you were lucky if you saw a poster somewhere that, warns people about phishing or something. So it was still very immature then. And that led me to, I found a company called Popcorn Training, where what we did was focus on the human side, like really creating content that we as security professionals, we find it really fascinating and interesting, and it's so important. But for a normal person that is not in IT or maybe not in security, they're not that interested in it. So I try to create content in a way that brings the message across in a way that is more engaging to non-technical staff or IT people. And then we started in 2011 was the conceptualization. 2014 the company was like properly set up, and I did this full time. And then 2018 we were acquired by KnowBe4, and I'm part of the KnowBe4 group, and currently the managing director for KnowBe4 Africa. So that's it in a nutshell.
That's a great profile there. And you are really doing a tremendous job in creating cybersecurity awareness. Yeah, so from that, our viewers would love to hear from you. How do you run a security program successfully?
I think the first step is to appreciate that the audience is not necessarily someone with a technical background. So we always have to start with empathy and think about, okay, if I were in the audience shoes, how would I like to learn about these things? And, for example, if we're dealing with a call center environment, usually those are, younger people, they're very busy. They have like a lot of calls they need to do. So we can't force them through like an hour compliance training. That just doesn't fit in their schedule, and it probably will be too boring. So we always have to consider, okay, well, if the audience is a younger crowd and they're very busy, then maybe very short, snippety, maybe using story-based or humor, something that talks to their culture will be more effective. And then on the flip side, if we're dealing with, let's say, maybe executives, same story, they have no time, so we have to really condense the content to its essential. They may actually appreciate a sense of humor as well, but often they also just want the facts, the numbers, and sort of what needs to be done. So I think the first step is really to use empathy for your audience or your target audience, and then sort of start with a plan whereby you identify different audience groups and different content for these audience groups. The next step that is really important is, and this talks to culture, because at the end of the day, it's not just about getting a message across to the people and creating awareness. It's how do we make them aware, and then how do we get them to change their behavior? Because awareness, even though it's the first step, it doesn't get us to changing behavior. Like, I'm very much aware I'm not allowed to drive faster than 60 in a 60 zone, But do I do it is a different story. I do it, but you know what I mean. So, so the idea of changing people's culture, that is quite a tricky one, which actually is more of a people, an HR project, and not so much an IT project. But often security awareness is sitting under the IT or the security team. And that, again, it requires the empathy level again, and working with your communication department, with your marketing departments, finding ways to communicate in a way that is engaging and also talks to the culture of the organization. Meaning, you know, they often have a certain voice or like a way that they communicate, and that's not just the branding and the look and feel, it's the actual way we use words. And I mean, to give you an example, I know some of our one of the insurance companies we're dealing with, they literally are, we're not allowed to use any negative sounding words. We can only use positive and motivating words. So you can't put a poster up with a guy in a hoodie that looks scary, because that is against their culture. And then because people, the way we change is by looking at what our leaders are doing and what our peers are doing. So one of the very first steps, you know, if you haven't rolled out awareness before, is to actually start with your execs or your VIPs and go to them, to make them aware, first of all, because, you know, they are like a target, like an attractive target group as well in themselves, but then to get their involvement and their support. And this is not just for them to pay for your project, but to actually involve them. So for example, you could video record them just for a minute and then have them share why cybersecurity is so important for the company and why they, as the leader, believe in it and support the campaign. And that helps a lot with, you know, sort of getting people's buy-in and making it more relevant. So it's not just something the IT guys are doing. No, this is actually, it comes from the top and is important. So those would be like some of the initial, you know, things to consider. And then, as I mentioned before, you know, once you do roll out your campaign, is to be mindful of the different audiences in the company. You might have, you know, you might do something generic across the whole board, but then it is more effective to have targeted content for targeted audiences. Like your privileged users, for example, they're more at high risk, so you want something specific to them. There's a couple of other, like, you know, challenges, I suppose, in your customers as well.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. It's everyone's responsibility here. And also, it always has to start from the top.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Anna. So would you be having any closing remarks for us today?
Yes, I think that especially in Africa, you know, we've done a research survey where we identified that the level of awareness on the, let's call it the consumer level or the people on the ground, is still very low. So we as an industry, we just have to work together and do more to educate, obviously, the companies and their employees, but also the people on the street, like the school children, our families, our friends, because cybercrime is rife, you know, and they are using social engineering much more so than technical attacks. So we as the people, we are in the, you know, in the fire line, and we do need to do more to help people to be safe and more aware.
I agree with you. Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing with us. I hope our audience has learned something. And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. And to keep on with such discussions, to follow us, just hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on the upcoming sessions. Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Thanks, Veronica.